How can we get where we're going if we don't know where we are? Well, we're learning where we are, and when we do, that's going to empower us to change ourselves in positive ways, to change ourselves into the things we want to be, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, every way. The reason we look the way we look, act the way we act, think the way we think, and feel the way we feel is because we've built ourselves that way. We've built ourselves to our own specifications very precisely, very meticulously, and in some instances, we've done a pretty poor job of it. And so we waste so much time and effort doing the same old things over and over again. And then we sit back in awe and amazement as we get the same old results over and over again. People say, oh, I've gone on 100 diets. I've joined 100 gyms. Or maybe I've joined the same gym 100 times. After time number 96 or 97 or so, you think we'd see that it's not working? Some people say, oh my goodness, I've tried everything. I've tried hundreds of things. Well, they haven't. They've tried one thing hundreds of times. It might have been in a different wrapper, different packaging, but it's the same old thing. On Energy Contact, we are doing something different. We're presenting a new model, a brand new paradigm that's thousands and thousands of years old, in fact. So if you're tired of doing that same disempowering old thing, being the same, blindly accepting the same old stories, following the same old crowd, taking the same old pills, if you're looking to do new things in new ways, well, congratulations. You're in the right place. We're talking about real things, and anything real can be explained. There's a credibility problem that New Agey subjects and esoteric things have, and it's often well-deserved, because these are things that they're often shrouded in a lot of mystery and a little sanctimony to go with it, usually because the people who are talking about them don't really understand them themselves. But today's science, what we call science today, is just yesterday's mysticism. And today, what we're calling mystical even on this program, will just be dry high school science, the stuff that our great-great-grandchildren will probably be too bored to want to study in school. Look at Einstein. Once upon a time, he had the nerve, the gall to say that there's no difference between mass and energy. And you know what? People laughed at him. He was even ostracized for a while by his own scientific community. And they tried to prove him wrong, but in doing so, they realized he was right. And now, 100 years later, we hear that E equals MC squared business and we say, ho hum. Mysticism always obeys Einstein's laws. In fact, a part of the problem we have with the mystical is that it is often presented in spooky ways by people that we'll call on the fringe somewhere. It's Sister Moonbeam, it's Brother Sprout Blossom. It's hard to describe this stereotype, but you know what I'm talking about. We're going to bring that down to earth because the subject matter itself is not spooky at all. It's as practical and tangible as Einstein himself. On Energy Contact, we are boldly going on a search for the gems of truth inside the raw ore of the mystical world. All right, so lots of things to do, but now's the time in the show where we're going to take just a moment to take a deep breath, close our eyes for a second, and we're going to take a little virtual journey, a journey in your mind's eye, a virtual field trip of sorts. I make a little fun of these, what I'll call the mystical types, but I'm really one of them myself, I guess. And us mystical types, goodness, we love to visualize. And so what we're going to do now, and in fact about this point of every show, is we're going to take a few moments and we're going to look at some things that we can sort of see practical things and take that, abstract from that a little bit of analogy, a little bit of a lesson. So today we are going to go on a tour of a glass factory. First thing you notice as we walk in is all the raw material. There's just bumps and clumps and shards and piles of glass everywhere. A lot of broken glass. This company recycles, so they've got a lot of broken glass slabs and things all over the place. Cool. So we look at that and then we move forward and we see work. We start to see furnaces. We see a lot of work being done, heat and fire and blending and molding. We look inside the furnaces and we see white hot molten glass being forged and formed into something. Something that we can drink out of. Something that we can hang on a chandelier. And it's fascinating. It's a lot of work. On the way out, we see something different. There's a reject room. And in this reject room, there's sort of a balcony hanging over it. And down beneath is a bunch more broken glass. And there's a bunch of people, they're having fun in a destructive sort of way. They're just sitting up there throwing the reject pieces of glass down, the off-spec stuff. And they're busting it up with hammers and throwing things against the walls and the floors and stuff. And about this time, one of the guys comes up and hands you a few of these pieces. And he says, "Go ahead, you'll like it." And so you do. You just hang one over the edge, boom, it drops, shatters into 1,000 pieces. You drop a few more. And about that time, you realize something. You realize something very important. Things fall apart all by themselves. It doesn't take any effort at all, really, to make things fall apart. Maybe a little gravity. That's all. Things don't fall together. You can put things together, but that takes work. That's what they were doing over there, and it takes a lot of work. Things fall apart all by themselves. In fact, you can try that experiment at home. You can take a drinking glass out of your kitchen cabinet, go out to the sidewalk and throw it down on the pavement, and you'll get thousands of pieces every time. But try as you may, you cannot take those thousands of pieces and throw them down and get a drinking glass. I live in Venice, and in Venice they do that experiment with beer bottles a lot. Anyway, things fall apart all by themselves. That's the law of entropy. It's Isaac Newton's second law of thermodynamics, in fact. Hold that thought. We're going to take that into some stories today. And so today, as we do that, we're going to tell a lot of stories. Really, I'm just downloading as much setup to you as I can, as fast as I can. And so some of the places we'll take this, some of the explanations you'll hear from it might seem a little bit simplistic in the brief few minutes we have today. That's all the time we're going to have time for. But also, if I told you everything today, you wouldn't have a reason to tune into the next show and the next one. I want to keep you coming back because over the next couple hundred shows or so, we're going to explain everything in excruciating detail. But don't let me off the hook, because if there's anything you want to have a comment about or a question, anything like that, and you don't feel like waiting till show number 89, remember, those credits are rolling up at the end of the shows, and if you contact me, I'll get back with you. Oh, and one last thing before we move on. You might find that you don't agree with everything I say. Well, good. That means you can think for yourself, and that's a very healthy thing. I'm just submitting ideas for your approval.